Hello, my name is Hannah Hurdle, and I'm the Library eLearning Specialist at Ottenheimer Library here at UA Little Rock. And in this video, I'm going to be going over research tips to teach students and their value in course instruction for students. So students come into the classroom with different backgrounds, lived experiences, levels of knowledge, and barriers, and more. Because of this, it is important to make sure all students are on a level playing field when it comes to conducting research. And it is never too early for students to begin learning important research skills that they can carry with them through their academic career. In this video, I'll be going over some research tips taught by the library to students during our RISE workshops and in our library instruction classes. For our RISE workshops and library instruction classes, we cover a wide variety of topics, including how to generate keywords, how to search strategically in databases, evaluating online and peer-reviewed sources, searching with Boolean operators, and more. If you want more information on all the library instruction classes and RISE workshop options we have to offer, you can view our workshop LibGuide, which is what is currently on the screen. It's available in our research guides as well as in the supplemental content of this video. So if you go to our research guides on the library's homepage and type in workshop, this one will come up. So the first tab is our general library workshops. You can view the pre-assessments. We have some of the content that we use as flip content in the courses. So how to use the library search. There's some overview on each. There are 8 library instruction modules, so we have a little overview of each, as well as the flip content that we include. In the spring of this year, so spring 2022, we started doing gamification in our RISE workshops. So we have some photos from those workshops. We have information on the different kinds of gamification that we do, so you can look at that. And then we also, starting this year, started updating our library instruction modules. So we do library instruction 2.0. So we also have information on each of those. We partnered with the Student Learning Research Experiences for Undergraduates, or REU, and did 4 sessions for them this semester, or this summer, using these library instruction 2.0 modules. So you can view all that information on our LibGuide. It is important to note, however, that this video is not an all-encompassing repository of research skills the library currently teaches students. Rather, it is more of an overlook of the basic research skills students should know so they can be properly prepared to conduct research for your courses needed. Now that we've discussed what the library has to offer when it comes to teaching research skills to students, I want to go over some basic tips you can share with students to prepare them to conduct research. So let me pull up my PowerPoint. So research tips to teach students. So the first tip is helping students understand the difference between a topic and a research question, which I do think this is something faculty who have students do research do. However, when they come into our library instruction classes, something we've noticed is that students still struggle with this idea of, okay, I have a topic, but they don't have a research question. So just kind of understanding the difference between the two. Students are pretty good with this blue circle and the pink circle. So finding something that's broad, something that interests them, but they seem to struggle the most with something that addresses the gap in the knowledge and then narrowing that down. Especially this is like freshmen and sophomores, but even some juniors and seniors we've worked with sometimes have this issue. So we take students through how to go from a topic, narrow it, focus it down into that research question. So one thing we've done is in the spring, when we started our gamification, we did this game where students would roll these die that had W questions on them, and they'd be put into groups, and each group would have 2 Ws. So they would have to create a research question they select a topic and then create a research question with those Ws. So for who, they'd identify at least 2 stakeholders for the topic. So an example I'll have in a little bit is about mental health and social media. So for mental health, they'd have to identify at least 2 stakeholders. So who are they targeting? Are they going to talk about college students, teenagers, children. So they're thinking about who are they wanting their research question to be about. And then they're going to determine if the topic requires current or historical information. Are they looking at mental health in 2022? Do they want to see like when it started, or literature started really being published about it, things like that. Do they need to identify at least 2 motivation factors for the topic? So why is the mental health of college students being affected? Is it because of COVID and the pandemic and the switch from online to in-person to online in-person learning? Is it from the financial stress? Like why? What are they looking? What do they want to be looking at, and the why behind that? Then identifying at least 2 geographic locations appropriate for the topic. So where are they looking at? The United States? Are they looking at Arkansas, Little Rock? Just figuring out where these college students that they're looking at are. Then they need to identify at least 2 potential subtopics or parts of the topic. So they're, mental health, but that's a pretty broad umbrella. So they want to look at anxiety, depression, etc. And then identify at least 2 processes stakeholders may follow or must be completed relating to the topic. So how will this issue be addressed? And we have them do 2, so take the topic and then have 2 W's, because this is a lot to do just in one session. It can be really difficult to create a relationship research question with all of these. So just kind of getting them to work on thinking about the where, the who, the why, the how, etc. So an example, because we like to give them lots of examples. So their broad topic could be social media. The subtopic is mental health. Then they're going to narrow that topic. So they're looking at mental health in the United States. So that's the where. And then a research question, which this is still a pretty general research question. But how does social media affect the mental health of college students? The who in the United States, the where. So tip number 2, generating keywords can be really good once they have their research question and they are like, taking the keywords from their research question and creating more keywords to start looking for articles. But generating keywords can also help them break down their main topic to help them understand what it is that they want to write about, and also answer those who, what, when, where, why questions. So for social media, I have broken it down into Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and mental health. So then social media to mental health to bipolar disorder, anxiety, depression. Then depression is broken down into suicide rates in men. But then also have social media goes to Instagram, to influencers, and then influencers goes to negative beauty standards and the body positivity movement. And then from negative beauty standards, I break it down into eating disorders, and then eating disorder goes to bulimia and anorexia. So really just breaking it down from that original topic to help them create that research questions is a good way to help students visualize this process. Tip number 3 is searching Boolean operators. This is something we usually do a little bit that's a little bit higher level, just because searching with Boolean operators can be a little bit confusing for students. So just explaining to them what they are, how to use them, showing them where to access them in the library. In the past, we've given them an example, and then we've had them create their own Boolean operator diagrams with their own topic, and then practice searching. Just to get some practical application of what it looks like, how the search results are filtered, things like that. And then tip number 4, always evaluate your sources. Faculty do a great job of helping students understand the need to evaluate online sources, but something I've encountered with students in the past is they don't evaluate their peer-reviewed sources, or don't really question, if it's in the library, it's good to go. And in most cases, that's correct, but even it's just this idea that all information should be verified for credibility. So we have one library instruction module called Evaluating and Examining Peer-Reviewed Sources, where students, we go through all the peer review processes, we discuss the credibility of each, have them, go into the library, search for a peer-reviewed source, not just using the limiter, but also like having them go in, find the source and publication type, seeing the metadata if it says that it's peer-reviewed, looking up the journal online, seeing the process the peer review process it goes through, things like that. talking to them about, relevance, currency, accuracy, purpose, and the author of the publication or the article for both online and peer-reviewed sources, just to get them in the habit of doing that for all information. And just helping them understand really what peer-reviewed is, because a lot of students are like, I know I'm supposed to use peer review, but they don't actually really understand what peer-reviewed means. Let me So I want to show you real quick in Blackboard under this video. I've listed just some of our, the supplemental content is some of the stuff that we use to help students learn these tools or learn these skills. So we have our evaluating, examining online source, survey form, for lack of a better word. And so students go through and we have that little diagram I showed you. I have the video they can watch. But then they look at this article and they determine if it's credible or not based off of what they've learned in the class, but also giving them that information here too. So I have an example of a handout that we give them about keywords. And we also include a link to a video that they can watch. Boolean operators this is just a photo, but that we also have a worksheet helping them pick their research topics. So this is just interactive content made through HIP. We have a video there's a whole playlist on our YouTube channel about developing your research literacy skills. So this covers just kind of like the basics of what we go over in our library instruction classes, not the library instruction 2.0, but the original 8 modules. And then a video that we show in our peer-reviewed module that goes over the peer review process just to help them understand it more. So let me go back to slideshow. There we go. So while it can feel overwhelming, remember it's not an all or nothing approach. The library is here and we want to help. So if you're interested in incorporating more research skills or library instruction into your courses, please reach out to me at hfhurdle@ualr.edu or the other 2 librarians and Student Success. And their contact information is listed on the Start Here page in Blackboard for the Mini Professional Development Series. And just as a reminder, we also every semester have our RISE workshops, which highlights the research skills mentioned in this video, as well as several others.